Having kind of this background in traditional Chinese medicine and under the understanding that the body is, physiochemical, but also electrochemical,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
understanding the energetics of things like EMF has always been kind of an issue. It's these exogenous signals that affect how our endogenous communication and these hormonal cascades and neuronal functioning and all this kind of stuff happens or is impacted by that in the body. So for a number of years, looking into all sorts of things, passive devices, static devices, grounding, nature therapy, forest bathing, all of this kind of things. Um, I hadn't really found a solution that really addressed the modern age, something that's like checked off all my boxes until I found Blushield in 2017. So I got to know the inventor of
Hmm.
Blushield and got to experience firsthand the effects in real life. I try and look at full spectrum health. That's my general approach to life. Every hammer sees everything as a nail, right? So a lot of EMF people think EMF's the only reason that they're having problems with their health, or nutrition people think it's just all about what you ate or didn't eat, or exercise therapists will talk about you're not getting enough movement, but it's really kind of all of these things put together. But the big piece of the pie that I saw that was missing was the EMF equation, because it's something that's affecting us all the time. We don't really get a vote if a cell tower goes up in our area, or we have to use Wi-Fi routers to connect and even have this conversation right now. So there needed to be a solution that was dynamic and effective long term, that followed natural laws and principles.
Yes, right. In modern life, we cannot avoid using these technologies, and we just can protect ourselves. Can you
Right.
please explain how Blue Shield scalar energy technology different from traditional EMF blocking devices? Because as far as I understand, your concept is totally different from other traditional, not always effective devices, because they are trying to block EMF field, and you do an opposite. Your device creates some natural, coherent, ever-changing frequencies. We just kind of can tune in with them instead of tuning in with those harmful EMF. And then what happened to us when we exposed to those EMFs? Like,
Well, since AM radio, not a lot of people realized a lot of people had a lot of complications and health issues when AM radio started becoming more prevalent. We see kind of these incoherent signals from Wi-Fi routers,
mhm.
computers, cell towers, all these like radio frequency. It's not necessarily that the carrier, the informational carrier wave that transmits the signal is actually bad or anything. It's when you start piggybacking these informational wave packets on top of that, it creates this incoherent noise essentially that your cells pick up on. And your cells are very much transceivers. So they transmit information to the environment and they receive information from the environment. And what happens when we're exposed to high levels of radio frequency and incoherent noise essentially is that it disrupts the signaling. Dr. Martin Pall actually kind of paved the way as far as our understanding of the voltage gated calcium channels, and then just basically demonstrated that when we're exposed to radio frequency, our voltage gated calcium channels flood the system with 100 times the amount of calcium as normal. And you can imagine the cascade effect that has downstream. Nobody really understands why that process happens inherently. Some people speculate, that it has to do with acidification in the body trying to balance the natural pH endogenously with our immune response. And that's what we found with the research with Blushield primarily, is that it's very much my best analogy that I've been able to come up with is like a radio. If you're in your car and you're tuned to radio, you're tuning your coil of your radio to a specific carrier signal, and that carrier signal has the song or the information or the code on it that your body or the radio actually transmits a sound as a song. So you can only really listen to one radio station at a time. It doesn't mean that all the other radio waves aren't bouncing around the area. It certainly is, but you're tuned in and more coherent with that specific carrier signal. So what Blushield is essentially doing is it's sending out a signal in the environment that becomes the dominant signal that's changing all the time, that the body entrains with. So it stops mounting an immune response to this invisible threat that it can never really manage or deal with in the traditional sense, with bacteria, yeast, mold, fungus, things in the environment that we have to kind of combat with our immune system. We can tag it and identify it and really create a proper immune response to that. But with electromagnetic signals, it doesn't really work that way.
Well, so we constantly trigger our immune system to protect us from such a stressor as EMFs,
Correct.
correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I understand. It's really too much load on our body, especially in big cities, especially when we are surrounded by many towers and antennas.